Over here we've got a little area where you can sit down and have a cup of tea or whatever and enjoy the tranquility.
I'd really recommend it to other people. What we've done, I'm really happy about it.
Farm dams have enormous potential to support more wildlife. They illustrate how farming and wildlife conservation can work together. Nothing beats natural wetlands, and they should always be our priority, but enhancing farm dam habitat can make a big difference with little effort.
G'day! There are hundreds and thousands of farm dams across Australia, and most of them are just like this, almost devoid of any good wildlife habitat. They tend to only support the common species that are already thriving. But as you'll see, there's a lot we can do for the less fortunate others. And it's easy to make a big difference. Just a few tweaks here and there. Watch as farm dams just like this are transformed into an oasis for wildlife.
Many of Australia's natural wetlands are shallow and ephemeral, with a boom and bust cycle. They often have lots of hiding places for wildlife. Farm dams, on the other hand, usually look very neat and tidy, like Matt in his suit. They tend to have deep, permanent water and miss out on the all-important pulse of life after a dry period. It's the steep sides of farm dams that prevent good habitat establishing. Mimicking natural wetlands is wise. The creation of ephemeral shallows that are only flooded when the dam is full can bring a farm dam to life. This means water plant communities and mudflats can form, offering wildlife 5-star accommodation.
I think it's good to try and keep the native animals and birds and things going. At this stage all we've done is sink a bit of a big pond over here in the swamp and put 2 mud flats in, just raise the level of the swamp so that when the swamp fills it will go over the top of the mud pans.
Hopefully then it will be full of reeds and things like that for all those sort of birds that do come in.
It will be fenced, it's not fenced yet, and once it's fenced we're hoping that that will create a habitat for those birds.
Yeah. And I think ducks and things like that like the reeds and things to nest in, and the black swans and the brolgas. We'd love to see the brolgas back, they're lovely. And,
Many farm dams have an overflow or semi-natural wetland area adjacent to them. These can provide excellent opportunities. What Ian and Joyce have done here is dedicate a 7-hectare wetland habitat area. The area already contains cane grass, rushes and other water plants. A reed bed pit has been dug here, and it will eventually support larger water plants like Phragmites, the common reed, in water about 1.5 metres deep. This reed bed will eventually support species like the reed warbler that otherwise wouldn't occur here. But ultimately, the aim is to attract the endangered Australasian bittern. Using the fill from the reed bed pit, Ian and Joyce have created mudflat islands like the one behind me, which will eventually attract migratory shorebirds like the sharp-tailed sandpiper that breeds in the Arctic.
Constant grazing pressure damages wetland habitat. This is another key reason why farm dams typically lack good habitat. Managing grazing is paramount. The area can be fenced off and water can be pumped out to a trough. Fencing just part of the farm dam so stock still have access is another option. Or you can design a habitat area so that stock don't have constant access. Farm dams in paddocks that are rested from grazing for long periods can also do well. Grazing is not all bad news though. It can be used as a tool to manage vegetation.
Well, basically what we've done here is, well, excluded the cattle from it for a start, but that part's all right. But it's basically to benefit myself as much as the wildlife. We all get benefit from it. It's not it's a win-win situation in my book, I reckon. But we're virtually, put a bit of islands, and I've carted all the logs and all that in from different areas, and just set it up the way it suits me, but also suits the environment, basically.
We've commenced some earthwork here on the side of this dam. What we've done here is created more shallows by extending the dam. We've found that the pin rush and other water weeds will come out into the shallows, so birds will feed in that area and survive. And I encourage people to do more of this if they have the chance to do it.
There's lots of birds in this area and lots of water birds here. I'd really recommend it to other people. What we've done, I'm really happy about it.
Pat and Glenys have capitalised on the existing shallows at their farm dam here. These spike rush shallows are brilliant habitat, and with earthworks they've expanded the area substantially where these shallows with spike rushes will form. It's brilliant habitat for water birds, frogs and other wildlife. Last year I even saw a Balin's crake here, a very sneaky and secretive water bird that hides in the cover of water plants just like those. With support from Landcare, this new habitat area will be fenced off from stock so that the water plants and the mud flats can flourish. This kind of habitat, when it's flooded, is ideal for the endangered Australian painted snipe. It's almost the holy grail of bird watching in Australia. Attracting a threatened species like that is surely the ultimate reward for the work you've done to welcome wildlife to your farm dam.
Well, what we did was, first of all, we fenced off the whole dam area, which is somewhere over 1 hectare in size. And then we had a planting day with the whole Landcare group, and we planted things inside the dam as well as around the outside. So we planted the rushes and reeds in the dam for different sorts of frogs, and we put in logs for habitat for frogs, and we also put in a whole lot of prickly wattles and things for the birds around the outside.
It doesn't take long before the simple changes start to make a difference. This is the beauty of wetlands. They respond so quickly. We're not waiting years and years for trees or shrubs to grow. Here we've got frog spawn, they're in here breeding, the water birds come in, the system gets going. You know, when we create shallows, when we reduce grazing pressure, the water plants come, and so does the wildlife.
There are countless opportunities to be creative when enhancing habitat in farm dams. Some people, like Vin, add logs. Others use rocks, construct floating islands, put up nest boxes for ducks, or encourage reed beds and mudflats like Ian and Joyce. Research from North America and Europe shows that adding habitat value like this can work wonders in constructed wetlands. For example, adding logs helps stimulate invertebrate activity, which is so important in keeping the system running healthily.
What we've done is fence the dam off. Two reasons: to create a nice habitat for frogs and birds and that, but also to make the farm easier to work because it keeps the cattle out of the water. But it has made the water a lot better quality. These water plants have been here since the dam was made bigger and the water backed up here. But they weren't noticeable so much because the grazing, they've only become dominant since the area was fenced off. What we've tried to create here is a very pleasant spot to come. As you can see, probably over here we've got a little area where you can sit down and have a cup of tea or whatever and enjoy the tranquility. Every time you come down here there's different bird life and things. And when you step out on the back veranda at night time, the sound of the frogs is just nearly deafening, you know. So, no.
Water plants' seeds and spores, and even the eggs of invertebrates, often arrive in wetlands from waterbirds. They disperse them through the landscape in their poo. In fact, waterbird poo is one of the most unappreciated things in Australia. Waterbirds do much of the hard work for us. But we can plant and transplant water plants as well, targeting the species that we want to establish.
Wetlands are simply amazing. With habitats like this, your farm dam booms with wildlife. It's so rewarding to enhance a farm dam and get to know the new critters that call it home.